All right, we'll give another minute or so for people to come in, then we will get started. All right. How is everyone doing this evening? Awesome. Like I tell so I teach online, and I just tell my kids, like, show me a thumbs up in the screen. So that's like our interaction. It's a little weird being an online teacher. Like, I'm used to interacting with kids, and now I'm just interacting with, like, they're just like no expression, and they're silent. They, like, even if it's just me and another kid and I ask them a question, they'll just sit there and type a response in the chat. They won't actually unmute themselves and talk. So I have to warm them up to talking, which is interesting. Excellent. So let's kind of kick off where we always kick off, and that's with our league stats. So this is incorrect. It is from today. Hold this today. That number may be wrong, but all the others are right. So we have 457 licensed coaches. We have 107 female coaches and 350 male coaches, which is really close to like a 3-to-1 ratio, which is pretty awesome. Like, it's pretty darn close to 25% of our coaches are female, which is really cool. And we have 810 registered riders as of today. That's plus 88 from when we talked last month. We have 360 high schoolers and 450 middle schoolers. And then, big change from the last time we talked, we have 1,268 and a quarter TTC hours, which is up 424 and a half hours from the last meeting we had last month. That's really huge. So we're almost halfway to our 3,000 hour goal, and we're not halfway through the season. So that's amazing. I don't know if that was like all of a sudden somebody was like, "Oh, I need to put in my hours," or you all have been like, "It's too cold to ride. Let's get out and do some trail maintenance." So that's really awesome. Some important dates. Uh, so Brian, is Brian here, by the way? Brian, are you on the call? Oh,
Yes,
good. Oh,
I
shoot.
was in that awesome adventure committee right up until the the last minute and jumped in.
Okay. So I'm still going to say this even though you're here now. So Brian's second registration cutoff 2 years in a row has not gone smoothly. Neither of them are his fault. This one ended up, there was a Google security update that got pushed out last week, and it did something to the Gmail address that NICA uses for those invitations and re-invitations that you send out, as well as password resets. So none of those emails were actually getting generated. And so there were some problems with that. So what Brian did was he actually pushed the cutoff for the regular registration to midnight tonight, or 11:59 p.m. tonight, so that we could give NICA time to fix that. The problem has been fixed. Everybody that was having issues, they have fixed that. All good to go. Regular registration fee ends tonight at 11:59, and that means at midnight starts that $10 late registration fee, and the late registration will run until February 23rd. If you have any student athlete that registers after midnight tonight, they will not get a personalized number plate, but they will still get a number plate. And then, remarkably enough, we are 6 weeks away from our first race weekend at Browns Creek. And so those are going to start showing up on our important dates coming up. March 2nd and 3rd is the first race weekend at Browns Creek. Then March 16th and 17th is the second race weekend at Salisbury. And then March 18th through the 24th is the NCICL Trail Work Week. And I know there were a couple of coaches that had emailed about like what those dates were. They didn't quite catch them. I wanted to start putting those here just to get that on everyone's radar. I think our goal for that week is 1,000 hours. Is that correct? I am getting a thumbs up from Brian, so that is correct. My memory is not completely faded. Awesome. All right. Any questions about those important dates? Any questions about this extended regular registration or the late registration fee that is starting up at midnight? Brian, you have your hand up.
Not a question, just a comment, and I'm sorry if you're going to cover this later in the agenda. I just thought I might mention it, that all category petitions that were received by the original registration deadline have been decided and approved in large measure. So those are all done. That was one, to get that name on the race plate. Category petitions can still be submitted up until a week before Browns Creek. So still able to submit petitions up until the week before Browns Creek. And just for some initial statistics, 36 petitions received. We had 40 at about the same time last season, so that's about the same. We had 24 upgrades and 12 downgrades. By category, the largest ones seem to be in the male category, the middle school A to 8th grade downgrades. We had like 5 of those coming down. And then the biggest female changes were we had 3 6th graders move up to MSA. So we had some 6th graders bringing some serious race experience. And then high school 2 to high school 1 was the next biggest jump with 3. So thank you for the coaches for getting those in. I hope you found our review process transparent, and we had some dialogue on a few of them. But again, all petitions received have been approved. Responses back to coaches, still able to submit petitions up until a week before Browns Creek. So thank you, Sean.
And to piggyback on that and add a little bit more detail. So the petitions will be accepted up till the week before Browns Creek. That's to get a petition in for the Browns Creek race. If after the Browns Creek race, you want to file a petition because a kid does phenomenally better than what either of you expected, then you can still file that. It just needs to always be a week before the race happens. So that cutoff is always going to be that week before the next race. So we'll take those throughout the week. I see that Chelle has put in some Trail Week info in the chat. So if you're looking for more info on Trail Week, that's there. And I'm also going to see if I can copy and paste that link in, and I will include that here. There you go. Cool. All right. Main topic for tonight. So clarification, that folder is within the TTC coach resource folder on the website as well, if you want to get to it from our website. All right. Main topic that we want to talk about tonight is composite team scoring splits and kind of the overview and plan. And we've been talking about this, about how we were going to be working on a way of implementing this. And for your reference, the rule that we're referencing here is the 6.6.C.1 part B and C. They're on pages 28 and 29 of the 2024 NICA Handbook. And what that rule says, bring you over here to the rule. Essentially, it is composite teams are limited to 11 riders max. Once you get to 12 riders, then that triggers an automatic sort of scoring split. This has not been something that we've done in the past simply because we didn't have a way of implementing this that we could figure out. And then in the past, we've also had where teams have kind of broken off and started separate teams. What we wanted to try and find was some middle ground where we were adhering to this rule, but we weren't creating undue stress on teams and student athletes and their parents. So essentially, the plan that we've come up with is we'll be looking at composite teams. If a composite team has 5 riders or more that go to a single school, then they will be scored as a separate unit. Then, if a composite team has 12 or more riders, we will start to look at how we break those apart, looking first at 5 riders at a single school. And then the next is to start doing it based on school of attendance and geographic location. The idea being that when we go to put all of these people into the scoring system, for instance, my team, Caldwell County Composite, might have Caldwell County Composite, High Brighton High School. And that would be the team that would be for those student athletes in that subdivision. They would still wear Caldwell County Composite jerseys, but they would be scored as the High Brighton High School portion of Caldwell County Composite. There could also be the Caldwell County Composite West Caldwell High School, Caldwell County Composite South Caldwell High School. I know we've got really unique names here for our high schools. And then the other is going to be if you have homeschoolers. So then homeschoolers would also form their own team. So there would be the Caldwell County Composite Homeschool Scoring Division. After that, then basically we're looking at doing this for the composite teams at both the high school and the middle school level. This does not mean New Jersey's. It doesn't mean anything other than at the races when they're scored as a scoring unit for team competition, they're scored as that scoring subdivision of the composite team. I'm going to pause here because I'm sure there are questions.
Is there still a rule that a high school that has 4 or more students at that high school, that team, that school unit needs to spin off as a separate new team, or are they still part of the composite?
So that's what we're trying to do, is keep them as part of the composite, but not for an unlimited amount of time, but at least for this season and next season. Like, we want it to be where there's durability. Like, you might have that one season where all of a sudden, you know, you got 8 kids at a high school, but then, you know, 5 of them are seniors, and the next year there's 3. We don't want to like spin up a team, spin down a team. So what we want is to see, like, okay, first we establish a scoring unit, we let that ride for this season, and then next season, if that's durable, then we start having a conversation about splitting that off as a separate team. But for now, this is all under the composite umbrella, all under the same PitZone dashboard, all same jerseys, everything copacetic, just like you're doing right now with your composite team. All right, Abby.
Question. I totally understand this. if I've got 5 kids at North Buncombe High, but there are no females,
Okay.
are they still separating them out because they're not going to be able to score as a team if they don't have a female on the team?
They will still score as a team because they'll be able to score 3 riders, but it does not say 5 and one of them has to be female or they have to be of mixed gender. The rule says 5 or more are going to become that scoring unit.
Okay, but isn't it a rule that you can't only score as a team if you have 1 female? Don't you have to have 1 female?
No,
on your
you
team
still score as a team. You only score 3 of the 4 riders. At least one rider has to be a different gender from the others. So you'll still score as a team.
But you get
you'll
one
only
less
score your top 3. Yeah, you'll only score your top 3 riders. All right, other questions?
Is this just a 2024 season and 25 season, or we look to do this in the future?
This we are looking to establish as the way moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I've got a question in chat. What was the 12 riders on a team rule? So it is if there are 12 riders in a composite team. So the rule stipulates that the maximum size of a composite team is 11 riders. And so then if you get 12, then that triggers this subdivision section where it's kind of mandatory subdivisions by kind of geographic and school of attendance, even if it's less than 5. So you have an all-male team and you can't win as a team without a female rider, just how it has been for us for years. Yeah. Now, Carolyn, your team is, so Charlotte Catholic is not a all-boys school. It is a mixed gender school, correct?
She nodded yes.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, I can't see all of you. So
Yeah. Correct. We just haven't been able to get girls. We have 2 this season, so maybe this season will be different. But like our middle school doesn't have girls either. We can't seem to keep because we can't get a group of them together.
Yeah.
So you're just at a disadvantage. It's really hard to break in the top 10 without girls scoring for you.
And you can, so there is a rule that if you have an all-boys school, we actually did have an all-boys school that was looking at becoming a team. An all-boys school can score with an all-girls school so that they have their genders. So that is in the rules. But if it is a mixed gender school and it just happens to have all boys, then only 3 of the riders will score.
So
All
when
right,
when it comes to podiums, are we going to announce the split off school that the students are in, or still the composite team name?
Both. So it would be like, first place, Sean Moore, Caldwell County Composite, High Brighton High School. That would be what would be announced.
Okay.
Hey,
and then
quick
for team recognition, it would be the subdivision. So it would be like Caldwell County Composite, West Caldwell High School, first place team division. All right. Yes, there was a question.
Yeah, sorry, waiting for this to get a little lighter over here. But for the composite teams, is it 12 for high school and 12 for middle school? Like we've got 14 across middle school and high school.
So that's where it gets a little bit weird. So it really is, for the purposes of this, it's going to be if there are 11. So you can see here, teams are limited to a maximum number of 11 registered riders, excluding middle school riders. So it is only if there is 11 high school.
Okay. So middle schoolers don't count. It's just if you have more that, so we're not even close, right? I think we got 5 high schoolers or something. So
right. Yeah. So you're fine. If you've got 14, The one thing, so kind of the way that that I'm gonna kind of work with you all on this, because it's sort of gonna be us collaborating. What I'm gonna do is after registration closes tonight, I'm going to pull a list of student athletes that are fully paid in PitZone and start like making spreadsheets for each individual composite team. And then if you're kind of falling in this realm of having to do subdivision splits, then I'm going to start reaching out to you, and we're going to kind of get together and talk about a way of how are we going to split these up and that sort of thing. We're also going to need you to go through this list and proof. There's a couple that are like, when I've done looks, parents spell the name of the school like different ways, but you can tell it's the same school. Like, I know that there's not like schools that your kids go to that are almost identical except for one or two letters. So I know that that's like one school. So we just need to sort of clean that up, make sure that we've got good data on your team, and then we can start moving forward on that as well. All right. Other questions?
Does the league are we pushing towards a era to where we're busting up the big composite teams that have 11 plus on their high school groups?
What do you mean busting up?
Like back in the day, we busted up the Carolina Crushers because they had 70 plus students on one composite team. And now we've split them up in the different schools that they're a part of. Are we looking to do that with our 60 plus student athlete teams this year?
So, not knowing how any of that went down, we're not looking at, I mean, busting up is an incredibly negative term. So let's just talk about we're trying to comply with this rule.
Yeah.
And so that's the intent of this is, let's do scoring subdivisions first. Let's see how that goes. All right. So what we need to do is kind of get this established and then move forward from there. Because this has been the big sticking point, is that there's like this hesitation on how we do this. And so this, we're trying to be as like the least impactful and comply with the rule as possible. So getting to keep the same jerseys, everything being the same, like none of that. Like, we're just trying to make it as minimally invasive as possible and still have compliance in the rule, because the purpose of the rule is to create a level playing field. And it is, kind of plainly laid out that teams may not be subdivided based on their experience and ability of the student athletes. Doing so frustrates the policies that permit composite teams and creates an unfair advantage by avoiding the geographical limitations that apply to other teams. So for those who are operating at school-based level, then that becomes an issue. Or if you have a composite team, but you're a small composite team because you're a small geographic area or don't have a lot of mountain biking in your area, we want to try and do this level playing field with these subdivisions. So as of right now, there is no talk about like forcing teams to break up or anything like that. It's literally just this scoring split.
Yeah, Sean, if I could jump in, because I think you characterize it very well. We're trying to find an equitable way to abide by the rules. And I do want to get away from the terminology of busting up teams and forcing teams to create school teams and the like. And I know there's some history in this league about, circumstances like that, but I can't speak to it. Just like Sean said, I wasn't here, and I don't want to approach it that way. But here's what I do know. All of the NICA modeling says the path to expansion is expanding into more teams, to, in fact, grow out of a composite into school-based teams. And the other data point I have is this league is stagnant for almost 4 years straight, between 800 and 900 riders. And so we're going to take a look how we build a little bit of culture around school identity and teams within the composites. And just like Sean said, when the time is right and we have a conversation with that team director and head coach, hey, can you break out like we saw this year in Cabarrus County? Congratulations, breaking out. We saw in Durham, congratulations, you broke out in Riverside High. Awesome. The time was right and we'll support that. But we also had some collapse. We had some teams that, just like Sean said, hey, leadership disappears. And instead of buying new jerseys, folding new jerseys, and the like, this seems like a better approach to do that type of equitable competition in this league. That's why we're taking this step that way. But yeah, let's get away from the language of breaking up, busting up, forcing out, and the like, and let's just be as collaborative as possible in the way ahead here. And appreciate all the feedback and questions about it.
So it's really just about the scoring. It's not about whether they're riding together.
No, it's never been about them riding together, to be perfectly honest. It's always been about scoring. That's always been the purpose of this.
But you only get 4 scores, right? Like if you have a really big team, it's not like you don't do your top 2, you only get the top 4 scoring participants, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So quick question on
Yes.
when you're setting up with breaking the composites down for scoring,
Mhm.
how are you guys gonna coordinate who's registered versus who actually races? Because it's usually about a 50-50 split for our team. So when you're trying to break down into, and I'm just trying to think ahead for discussions to have with you on how to break up. Has there been any thought on how to assess who's actually going to race and who's not, so it can be broken up reasonably?
No, because any kid can show up and race. So it's not like that would be such an incredibly fluid thing that it wouldn't make any sense.
Well, and that's why I'm asking. So if you have 5
Yeah.
homeschoolers, but only one shows up to race, what's the point of breaking into a scoring unit of those 5 kids?
So that's where we have to look at, like, if we're talking about a composite team of, let's say, 30 kids. So obviously we've got to have some subdivisions.
Sure.
So then we have to just come up with a methodology that breaks those kids up that has nothing to do with ability or anything like that. So geographic region, schools attended, feeder schools, like whatever. But it's got to be some methodology that ensures that they are grouped in ways that have nothing to do with ability or anything like that.
All right, I'll try to take a pre-stab at it before we talk.
That's okay. You can just wait and I'm like I said, I'm gonna pull that list and then and you can do that too. Like you can pull the list of your active riders and just start looking at
I'm looking at it right now.
Yep. Yeah. Just start doing that and just kind of like thinking about what you would do. So
okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll apologize for the incorrect adjectives I used, but that's some of the feedback our team's already been looking at because they see the numbers and the rules. Thankfully, they actually read our rule book, which is cool. And they were worried about what happens in 25 season. Or is the subset of our team split off to a school-based team and what happens with them? And I'm excited to hear that we don't have to change jerseys. We were already deciding to ride together because of small community. But at least it's just scoring on paper. We still get to be the Wilco Wolves everywhere. So thanks for looking into it and clarifying.
Yeah, we're trying to just provide a kind of a pathway so that we get that more sustainable growth. And, I know like being in a school and seeing a team and them being able to participate on like Jersey Day and showing up as a team and everybody wearing their school mountain bike team jersey, that does a lot for them. Like it's something that they're proud of. And so that idea of like kind of pathway to expansion, don't look at it as being kind of negative. Like if we can provide a pathway that sort of shows like sustainable scoring splits over seasons, and then you kind of know like, yeah, this school really is sort of embracing this. And then you can sort of like create that separate identity for them as a school, but still participate with the rest of your team. that's one of those pathways we sort of envision in the future. The other is that volatility pathway. Like, my team was big and now it's not. And so, kind of my school-based teams, like I have a school that nobody's on anymore. I have another school that only one kid came from. So, it's like it made sense to kind of collapse back to a composite, but then those kids are having to buy jerseys. So it's like, how do we accommodate that? How do we ensure that the expansion is sustainable? Because that's really the goal of everything. Other questions, comments, needs for clarification, concerns?
Say something. I don't know if anybody has seen our jerseys, but we did break off Asheville High a couple years ago. And it is doing what Sean has said for the school. And what we've done is our Pisgah Rage and our Asheville High jerseys have a similar theme. They kind of have the same design, different animal, and just different colors. And so they're like a part of Pisgah Rage, but we always say they just score differently. But it has worked just fine. And the kids that go to Asheville High are like, and it's growing. Like we've got 3 times as many kids on that team as we did 2 years ago.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really the goal, is like that school, once the school culture kind of embraces it, then that's your like, boom, you want to really take off. So yeah. Awesome. Anything else? And I see something in the comments, and I want to kind of follow up on that. So is this a segue to building new teams for the composite? Are you referring to like building new teams out of the composite, like the school-based kind of break off? Is that what you're referencing?
Yes, much like Abby just talked about.
Yeah, and I think in a little, I know Abby, that was, for me, it was sort of like, ooh, I got 4 kids, like I'm going to break off, and you were probably similar, like, we'll see how this goes, but I think it's the time. This would really be a pathway to sort of like give you a chance to see how sustainable it was, and then kind of go, okay, now we're making the commitment. We're going to do separate jerseys and that sort of thing. So yeah.
It also provides a community for the student athletes. So where they find a community in their high school. Now they have a group of people that they've joined teams. Like it's good for them. It's a healthy thing for them to be doing.
100%.
I'm encouraged that we don't have to ask a high school team to go spend lots of money for branding, for canopies, for jerseys, to then do that yo-yo as you were talking about. Have 4, have 2, have 5, have 3. So
yep, 100%. I'm right there with you.
Taking some of my blood pressure down. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
This is Carolyn Prey from Charlotte Catholic.
Yes.
Just wanted to let you guys know, we kind of went through this years ago because we started with Sir de Charlotte, and we intended to do what you're saying. We kind of wanted to stay with Sir de Charlotte and be scored as a high school team when we started. And just as a kind of a heads up to everybody, when we talked to the director and we actually started to see what that would look like, when you start a school team, Charlotte Catholic riders have access to the trainers, we have access to the weight room, and the other kids on Sir de Charlotte wouldn't have had that. And so we started running into, this isn't really going to work. So we just worked with Sir de Charlotte, and that's when we decided to launch our own team. But we worked really closely with them to make sure we weren't leaving them with no coaches and making sure that it was going to work. And it obviously it did. But just to let everybody know that you do start to run into not problems, but just, I don't know how you describe that. Just somebody said that you get high school culture, that is what starts to happen. You start getting kids and they identify with that school. And so you can end up with things like that if you do stay with a composite. So we decided to jump just because we were seeing way too many things that I didn't even know how we would fix. So it worked out, but it easily could have collapsed as well. And we could have ended up back with Sir Charlotte, but it did work.
Awesome. Yeah, and we want to smooth that pathway out for everyone as much as possible. Excellent. Any other comments or questions? Awesome. Well, really kind of just two reminders. So winter weather guidelines, it's been dicey here in Western North Carolina. I had to cancel my first practice because of low temperatures. It was below the 40-degree threshold. I managed to squeeze a practice in today, although it was right on the ragged edge. And I think by the time we were done was probably not a moment too soon. So just be mindful of the winter weather guidelines. If you're like me and you have middle school boys on your team, I kind of didn't think I needed to do this anymore, but I would definitely hit up a team snap alert saying to bring long finger gloves. I had two kids show up with no gloves. I was wearing winter gloves and my hands were freezing, so I'm sure they were not enjoying it and maybe learned a lesson. But we don't want frostbite. So, if you're experiencing this, you might want to just give those little heads up to parents and kids that they need to be dressed a certain way. But I did score in my practice today that everybody showed up wearing pants, because for 8 seasons, I have always said below 60 degrees, cover your knees, and they finally have gotten that beaten into their head. So that was my win for the day. PitZone maintenance, just go through and deactivate anybody. Sure, there might be a couple people that you're holding out hope on, but if your hope is starting to wane, definitely deactivate them. It throws off our numbers sometimes whenever we're looking at teams and going, oh, you've got, 40 coaches, and you're like, only 3 of them are actually active. And it's because in PitZone, like sometimes the numbers that it gives us for things when we do certain queries are thrown off by the fact that even those inactive profiles are still there. So if they're not going to be a part of your team, please deactivate them. And we can always reactivate them if they do decide to come back this season or in any future season. That's not a problem. And that is everything that I have. And then programs, events, info, program coach contact info, please contact Chelle to update as needed. So there's links here for adventure coach contact info, grit coach contact info, and TTC coach contact info. So if you need to share that with her, that would be great. All right. Anything else that anyone has questions or would like to bring up as a topic of discussion? Oh, Fletcher. We can't make it a coach's call without somebody asking about Fletcher. Let me guess, Brian, soon. We'll find out something soon.
At least by 4 and 5 May. I mean, guaranteed. Like solid. You can take that one to the bank. Bob, what would you like to know about Fletcher?
Sorry, Brian. It took me a second to find the mute button. Location, where it's at, the type of trails it's going to be, other than a 2-mile climb, 1 mile down, best places to train.
Yeah, Sean,
we're just trying to plan for camping. You mentioned things are going to be good on site, but also looking at possible off-site options.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Bob. Sean, do you mind if I segue into just general season information for everyone?
Go right ahead.
Let's do that. Yeah, so let me do that. And I know I owe all of you a lot of information about what's coming on about our events, and we are incorporating some more things into our events this season. So let me walk through just kind of each event and some of the changes to anticipate, and I will eventually get to Fletcher, Bob. I'm not avoiding the question, but I will get there. Go to our event schedule page on the website, and I have created a block for each event for the season. We will start hanging information on that as it becomes available. And so even for Fletcher, if you go to the map chip, the little Google map dot on Fletcher is the entrance to that venue. And so you will know exactly where you need to go for our Fletcher venue, and you can look for hotels, camping, anywhere around there. I am treading very cautiously with the landowner who's been gracious enough to bring us onto his personal property before I kind of reveal the information about that property. I've got another call with him this week and trying to dial in some more information. Plans right now is to bring the staff out there maybe late March to dial everything in field, the course, and then mid to late April, open that venue up for folks that want to travel there and get a preview of the course so you can get an idea of what it looks like. That being said, what I'm doing with some of the staff throughout the season is going to all of our venues, and we will record the race course. So we will have an updated GPX file. You will have video of, unfortunately, maybe me or some other more talented member of the staff riding the course and posting that on the website in advance of the venue. So you have some information about what that course is all about. Intend to publish live results this season. I know some of our venues are a little spotty on cell service, but the timing team is going to turn the live results button on and we will stream out the results as they are produced at each of the venues. And then thank you very much to the race committee, but specifically Jim Otto and Phil Watson, who are just kind of data geniuses, doing a couple turns on our wave schedule. One, we have new categories this season. Two, our numbers are still big in a lot of those categories, middle school boys and some of the younger high school boys. Right now, we've got basically a 5-wave schedule, but we're giving it another look or two before we get that information out there, because that really drives a lot of the weekend. Volunteer schedules and some of the logistics we have to set up. So we're still working on those things, trying to get that out as soon as we can. What I'd like to do as it relates to camping, Bob, is get initial camping information registration out by the end of this month, maybe first week of February, for all of our venues to describe what camping is available, where it is on the venue, and the like. If I was better at TeamSnap, it'd be done today, but I'm working through it. Camping registration will be in TeamSnap. And then a couple other things, we're incorporating more programming into all of our activities this year. So at each event, we will have a passport activity. So tell your kids to bring their passport. There will be a passport activity to do. And there will either be an adventure ride or a teen trail core activity. Browns Creek, adventure ride. Salisbury, teen trail core. Danville, adventure ride. Mayadan, teen trail core. Fletcher, it's a combo. Meet the trail builder, the guy who built that trail, and go ride with them. So we've got some nice, interesting, cool things to do for the kids while they're out for the weekend. And then again, thanks to the race committee for our qualifying state championship, really getting some good ideas on how to make that a distinctive kind of pro level event with some other fun things for kids and maybe even coaches to do and compete at out there. So team is really working hard on laying in all that information. So when we push it out, it's fairly accurate and we don't have to change the word, so to speak, multiple times. So thanks for your patience. We're trying some new things this season. It's taken us a little bit of time to get it all together and push out to you. And I will pause there to field any questions about any of that thing I covered. And Bob, did that answer it about Fletcher?
Yes. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate
All
that.
right. Yeah, sure.
There is a question from Abby Walker in the chat. Who built the trail in Fletcher?
Ed Sutton of Trail Dynamics is the trail builder, Abby. So the man responsible for Fire Mountain Gateway Trail System, the Ridgeline redo. It's a nice, fun trail out there.
And Brian, when will you be putting up the camping stuff in TeamSnap again?
I'm aiming for end of the month, first week of February. Yeah, I've got basic data on all of it. Need to firm up one with Fletcher in that conversation this week. And Danville, I'll just give everyone, a heads up. Location and amount of camping might change. We won't be up there until about 19th of February to dial all of that in, but I'll open it up to at least what we know is available, so folks can start to register. And that will go to home teams first. I'll send those links for each particular venue to the home teams. Give them about a week to sign up for stuff. So thank you, home teams. And that is posted on the website as well in coach resources, the home team list for the season.
Well, I know the process of creating the camping registration in TeamSnap is fairly simple. It only involves about 12 steps with about 100 sub-steps in each one. But appreciate you giving Brian a little bit of grace as he learns the ropes on it. I think he's learning just how easy it is. Is that correct, Brian?
I'm just gonna give him that salute.
Yeah. It's like just about everything in TeamSnap on the back end. It's not super user friendly, but it's okay. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. All right. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to talk about, discuss, or bring up for this call? All right, fantastic, everyone. Appreciate your time. And if you ever need anything, just email myself, Sean, SHAWN, or Brian at northcarolinaMTB.org. If you have any questions about programs, hit up Chelle, CHELLE, at northcarolinaMTB.org, and she will do everything she can to help you out as well. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon.
Thank you all.